Joining me right now is Kentucky Senator and Senate Foreign Relations Committee member Rand Paul. Senator Paul, it's always a pleasure to see you. Thank you so much for joining us. You are introducing right-to-work legislation today, and I want to get into that. But first, let's walk through this bill. Would you say 20% of it or 25% of it is COVID related? I know there's a whole host of things that have nothing to do with COVID in this bill.
Well, here's the thing, Maria. Eventually, they'll let us read it, but probably with an hour or two to go. So at this point, we don't know exactly what's in it, but the rumors rumbling around is that every wish list, every sort of thing the Democrats want to put on the Christmas tree is going to be in there. Some of it will have to do with COVID, but the bottom line is we don't have $2 trillion sitting around here, so it's all going to be borrowed. You know, the idea of stimulus or bailout, you know, it's the seen and the unseen. You'll see the money you get and you like it, and you ask people, do you want money? And they say, we want money. But people don't see the unforeseen, complications of this down the road, what it does to our currency, what it ultimately does to our economy. So it's a big mistake. Even if they say it's for legitimate purposes, at this point, I think really, if you want to fix COVID, you open the economy. It's on the decline. I think we're really rounding the bend now. This is not the time to put the country further into debt.
Well, I mean, you've got schools still closed, and all of this money earmarked for schools, are the teachers' union going to get back to work anytime soon?
When we ban fossil fuels. Apparently, if you ban fossil fuels, it'll be safer for them to go back. No, they have all these extraneous wish lists that have nothing to do with the kids, and I think that's the one thing that's become very clear here. Nobody seems to care about these children. If you're a poor child in America, you lost a year of your education, and your chances of entering the workforce and succeeding in life have gone down. If you were rich or middle class and your parents were able to teach you at home, you probably did better, but a lot of underprivileged kids have really been hurt by this. The teachers union doesn't seem to care about them. They seem to care about, themselves. So you got 25-year-old teachers clamoring that they get vaccinated first. There's no evidence of any surge in any school. The schools have been open across the entire world, and there haven't been surges, and yet we're bowing to the demands of a union. It's a big mistake, and really just sad. I mean, every time I read about another suicide of a young child, it just hurts me right here, the fact that we're not letting our kids go to school.
It will have devastating implications. I agree with that. It is certainly disadvantaging our young people. Let's talk about the confirmation blitz that we've got happening. Some of those nominees are facing roadblocks. The president nominee for Office of Management and Budget, Neera Tanden, facing opposition from both sides of the aisle. Senator, there's now a report that the committee vote on her nomination has been postponed. She's not the only nominee facing pushback. I've got a report in front of me from Cowan and Company about HHS nominee Javier Becerra. We're going to see his second confirmation hearing today, and he's likely going to support H.R. 3 like drug pricing measures using antitrust laws to hit drug makers for stifling competition, according to Cowan and Company. On insurance markets, they say he'll likely backtrack on single payer, but push for the Affordable Care Act and Medicaid expansion. What are the impacts of these two nominees, do you think, and will they pass?
I think Tanden at OMB, they probably will withdraw. I don't think she can be confirmed, so I think she's probably not going to be the nominee, and they're going to have to look elsewhere. As far as HHS, if they bloody and are willing to take what happens, I think they can barely get him through, but it'll be a party line vote. I really doubt anybody will vote for him for HHS. He's really from the extreme wing of the party. It's sort of the socialist wing of the party, and I don't say that flippantly. They call themselves socialist, but he's with the socialist wing of the party, and I don't know. I just don't think that's mainstream America. Plus, he has no experience running an organization like this. This is a $1 trillion organization. No experience in science, no experience running something like this. And really, he's shown himself in California and in Congress to be a radical. And so I think he's going to scare people to death if he gets in charge of a $1 trillion organization and uses it, for all of the crazy left-wing ideas that they want to promote. So I think he may pass, but if they stick by him, I have a feeling that's going to be Kamala Harris coming down to the Senate to break the tie.
Well, you're right. I mean, he was California Attorney General and worked in Congress, but not an expert in health issues, that's for sure. Senator, let's talk about your right to work legislation. Walk us through it and what you'd like to see happen as a result.
Well, 28 states have right to work, including Kentucky, and it's a great excitement for people to come to the state. Boeing and others went to South Carolina because it was a right to work state. Many of the car manufacturers went to Alabama as a right to work state. So right to work is a great draw. And really, why don't we make it for the whole country? Then the whole country becomes a great draw. Simply says you have a right not to join a union, and they can't enforce sort of a closed shop. And it's been good for 28 different states. I think it'd be great for the country. If the Congress refuses to do this, it'll still be an advantage for Kentucky, and people can come to Kentucky. But I'd like to make it an advantage for our entire country. It's not exactly the same argument, but getting back to the minimum wage, whether it's $15 or $10, if the government sets the wage above the market wage, it causes unemployment. Hundreds and hundreds of studies, virtually all the studies show that fixing a minimum wage causes unemployment. A $10 minimum wage will cause less unemployment, but it's still a problem. The government shouldn't be in this, and the people who get hurt the worst are those most disadvantaged. Black teenagers' unemployment goes through the roof when you set minimum wage, and the most important thing for any teenager, white or black, is that first job, and they don't get it if you set the wage higher than what the market will set it at. So I think it's a big mistake, and it's a disservice to our youth. My kids all worked minimum wage jobs, and that was their first job. They learned to show up for work. They learned how important it was to have their own money and spend it. It's a real mistake to have the government get in there and destroy jobs for young people.
Well, I think you make great points, and it is important for people to understand who gets the minimum wage, college kids, etc., who's actually making that money. Let me get your take on future elections before you go, Senator, because I know that Nancy Pelosi's #1 priority, H.R. 1, is election integrity. They want mail-in voting to be a constant. Are you worried in any way of future elections being fair?
I'm terrified of election integrity, and I'm all for election integrity, but the opposite of what Nancy Pelosi thinks that is. I think we need to have in-person voting, and it needs to remain in control of the states. So I've been going around to each of the states, including my state, and trying to get election law reformed. I think you need to vote in person, but I think we also need to make it such that secretaries of state and the government shouldn't be out paying and using taxpayer money to go to your house with ballots and applications to vote. I think that this idea of harvesting votes, that's what the Nancy Pelosi wants to do, is wrong, and we need to make sure we stop that.
All right, Senator, we'll be watching. A lot on your plate for sure. Please come back soon. Senator Rand Paul this morning in D.C. We'll be right back.